we should just keep it in.
The smartest guys around are about to break it down like they've won the game a million times.
Well, actually, they didn't really win the game at all.
Survivor know it all. Survivor know it all. Stephen and Rob without a doubt got the game all figured out. They know it all.
We know it all. And we are back together for the first time since the premiere of Survivor 49. I'm Rob Cesternino, back with Stephen Fishbach.
The original Know-It-Alls lineup. It's like when, a classic band like reunites, Van Halen with David Lee Roth.
Yep. And here we are to talk about two tribes on Survivor. Who would have thought?
An exciting episode, a tribe swap, the fireworks, the explosions. Rob, before we get started, I just want to say you're a great friend. I was thinking about it. I mean, I've recognized this before. Not just didn't come to this epiphany, but you were a really, really great friend. And you have I have been, flogging my novel Escape. And I always kind of thought of podcasting about Survivor as this discreet thing I did off to the side here, as and then here there's the rest of my life. But in fact, as I've been promoting this novel, so much of the support and the adoption and enthusiasm for this book has come just from the incredible community that you have built. And being a part of that is not just this side thing for me. It is become part of everything that I, part of my whole life. That's what's buoying my book. That if this book does become a bestseller, which PS, you could order now and help make that a possibility, because it's
StephenFishbach.com.
It's borderline, and with some support from, but truly, let me get back to the main point of this, not selling. It's because of and I didn't do anything. It's I'm your friend. You brought me along, and it really is really you are a lovely human.
Stephen, that is so kind of you to say, to open up this podcast. And you and I have been friends for 16 years now in friendship, even predating this podcast. And I just want to, I want to get I want to sneak up and one day maybe overtake JT in your friendship rankings. We'll see. Because really, shouldn't people say, instead of oh, it's a Stephen and JT, shouldn't it be at this point, we'll be a Rob and Stephen?
Yeah, that's true. But that's the post show, nobody, that's the post show. We if we were an alliance, that
was 20 days, or I guess 39 days in the original classic Survivor. But this is 16 years.
Yeah. I feel people are saying it's just not making air.
Yeah. No, thank you so much. It's so nice to be back podcasting with you. I thought you and Omer did a great job last week. Shout out to Omer, who really had all of the snake knowledge down, and a really great podcast that you both did last week, as I was rubbing elbows with the Glitterati in New York City at our most recent live event.
How was the hobnobbing?
Hobnobbing away. I hobnobbed so hard, and then just recently got back home. I was in New York over the weekend. I got to be a guest at the wedding of Matt Ligori and Jofo, and it was a great time. And then a little bit of a nor'easter, and it was really more of a non-Easter, if you ask me. But I ended up only getting home yesterday, so I've been gone for a week.
There's nothing the New York media likes to talk about more than rainstorms in New York. It's any freaking little bit of a rainstorm. Oh my God, it's the superstorm of the year.
Little hyperbolic on the nor'easter, but we had a humdinger of an episode to talk about here as we return. For the first time, Stephen, in 6 years, we had two tribes on Survivor.
Well, wow, is that true? Is it the first time in 6 years two tribes on Survivor?
Not since the pre-swap of Survivor Winners at War.
Do you think this makes the definitive case against two tribes on Survivor?
Well, okay, I
It's not
said
like
it
a-
was
it's
a
not
great.
like a high
so
advertisement.
it was kind of for, and I said I would not complain if we got two tribes, and I'm trying not. I just feel like that the way that this ended up working out, it was perhaps one of the like least exciting ways that these tribes could have ended up, where you had basically both of the original tribes. You have these superpower tribes of the Hina tribe and Uli tribe, and there was seemingly like no dissension in the ranks. They had never been to a tribal council before, so they had no reason to turn against each other. So it was sort of like, okay, well, we have 4 and you have 2 on both tribes.
Right. And it was so straightforward. Like this is like exactly what's wrong with the tribe swap, like according like with these dynamics. And you keep on hoping for it to be more exciting. I do think that the short time frame before the swap, just because of the 26-day season, kind of like creates that where, if it's 10 days before a swap and then there's all these like, this animosity has built up between these people. We were talking earlier, maybe it's too early to jump into this, that it would have been better to just separate Alex and Sophie, put one of them on each of the other tribes, and then it would have been a more explosive thing. Because I
Why
think
not?
in
Why
either
not?
case, yes, because then in either case, you think like, oh, they're just going to pick off Alex or Sophie. Probably not, because Alex, like, they're not threatened by Blue.
Well,
so
this was what you were describing is exactly what they did in Survivor Philippines.
One of like the most iconic duos ever, and becomes like such an exciting season for that reason.
And now Denise did have to do some maneuvering to get through the next couple of votes. But when you kind of had like, there was all this tension in these starting tribes, and now you add another person to the mix, it was like all this jockeying for position of who's going to grab the new person to try to inflict their will on the tribe, where maybe you might have seen if, say, Sophie goes to the Uli tribe. Okay, well, all of a sudden Savannah wants to work with her. Now, okay, well, now she's not on the bottom, but maybe the people that are on the bottom are feeling like, oh, I'm going to pull in Sophie and I'm going to try to work with her. So I kind of feel like that by going down to 2 tribes, which I'm excited to have 2 tribes, just that adding a tribe swap that was uneven. I don't know if you could have put your thumb on the scale and in some way said, all right, 3 of you we're going to split the 2 tribes of 6 into 3. I know we want everything to be fair and random and everything like that, but it just feels like that the most interesting possible scenario might have been like a 3-3-1, like in Survivor Cagayan, where Sarah Lacina ends up swapping where there's 3 brains and 3 people from the beauty tribe. It's like, okay, well, now all of a sudden the person with the 1, where are they going to go?
Right. And then it becomes like, it feels like it's actually a game of skill where you kind of have to like bring this person over, or maybe some other faction forms, right? I do think that the 3-3-1 would be perfect. But other than that, this is inevitably what happens, right? It's going to be 4-2-1. I mean, whatever, 5-1-1, I guess, was a possibility.
Yeah.
It was always going to be these 2 tribes that are warring. And then, they'd have 1 or 2 members from the other tribe. And then it would be, this exact same on their counterpart. And very likely the 4 was going to stay together, because the 4 is not enough to have like a real faction. And unless there's, I guess we saw that with Sifu, where they kind of turned on Sifu, but unnecessarily. But for the most part, this is a pretty straightforward vote.
Yeah, because, all these tribes are all about, I got to have my core 4.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden it's like, okay, well, now you have a core 4. Like, great.
Exactly.
Like, why would I mess this up? This is my core 4. I've got the 4. So, all right, but let's talk about what actually did happen. And we had this decision that had to be made between Matt and Jason. And I actually thought that the better move would have been to vote out Jason instead of Matt. What do you think?
So I think that I am team vote out Matt instead of Jason. So I think we're taking. I love it that we have opposite opinions.
Great.
It sounds like there might be an interesting podcast here. Discussion.
Yeah, discussion.
Conflict.
So I actually feel like so I think for Nate, and Matt had said Nate's name, and so from Nate's perspective, I totally get. Okay, Matt said my name. He has to go, and I think it's actually a testament to Nate's position in the game and how well off he is and how he is viewed by his tribe, because he did get his will, even though we saw, I think both Savannah and Rizzo both say in the episode that they thought that Jason was the better person to go. And I think that we should really be looking at Nate as the person who holds the most influence in that Uli group.
Yes, but I think we should talk about it even apart from Nate, because Nate's perspective is obviously very straightforward. The person who said my name is the person I want to go. I do think there's also an interesting discussion between these two play styles. On the one hand, you have Jason. I'm being very straightforward. I'm not saying I'm going to like betray my former friends. But I'm just going to tell you what I'm going to do. And like, here's my position. And there it is. And it's not what you want my position to be. I'm not like jumping in on your plans, but I'm just being told, I'm putting all my cards out there. And on the other hand, you have Matt, who's like, I'm up for anything. Let's do anything. I'll vote anywhere. Let's betray your other tribe. I'll betray my tribe. But he shows that he's willing to work with his new group, which is typically what we say is the correct choice, right? You want to like the group in front of you is the group.
So let me push back on that a little bit, because I feel like that was Matt actually willing to, I'll do whatever, I will go with whatever. I feel like that he, to Nate's face, he gave lip service. And I don't know why Sandra Diaz Twine, like, hey, keep the queen's name out of your mouth, Matt. Yeah, good on Jeff, at least, for defending Sandra. I don't know why Matt had to say, like, I don't like how she plays the game, but I can't believe it. I'm going to quote Sandra. I mean, it's not like that he's quoting, like, some, like, horrible person. I don't know what's his problem.
I
with
thought
Sandra?
though, like that was sort of like to me, it wasn't like dissing Sandra. It was like, this is the position I'm in, and I'm kind of like trying to mitigate that by like, this is not how I want to play the game. I don't want to play the anyone but me game, but I kind of have to because here I am.
Like lip service to Nate of, okay, well, hey, anybody but me, I'll do that. But in reality, he was like, hey, I'm not gonna like, I'll never write down Jason's name. I'll like, let's make a big move, and at least credit to Matt for at least somebody trying to make a big move happen so far in Survivor 49, but it ultimately was not going to work. Like Jawan did not even consider that for a moment to do that. Whereas I don't feel like that Matt was necessarily ready to, hey, I will completely flip my loyalties to go and work with this Uli group. And I just don't feel like that either of these guys got the urgency of what was going on here, where forget about old Hina. And we didn't see a lot about old Hina, but I didn't get the sense that this was like the most harmonious tribe in the history of the show. I mean, you saw where they brought MC in, and MC told Sophie about that she was on the out. So I guess maybe none of those guys knew that there was this undercurrent at Hina, but it's not necessarily like this 6 is so locked in that, let me tell you, Matt and Jason, Hina didn't throw the challenge. If they were really worried about you, they would have thrown the challenge. Like, get the memo. Did you see how happy they were when they got that last block on?
Yeah.
They could have just gone to tribal council and voted out people from the red tribe.
Yeah.
They
crazy that neither tribe was going to throw the challenge. I thought that was nuts.
And smell the coffee, guys.
Yeah.
This is how you win the game. They don't care about you.
Yeah. They do have that fun chant. Hina. How do you think they came up with that?
Jawan said it so well.
How do you think they came up with that one?
the Hina tribe chant?
Yeah. So I want to make the case. I actually, if I'm a player, if I'm like specifically Savannah, actually, who's a player who's obviously playing a control game, she's like kind of the hinge of her majority alliance that now has the majority both on her tribe and in the game. I want Jason there instead of Matt there, because I want someone who's going to be straightforward, not going to be scrambling. They're going to like put their cards out on the table. They're not going to like be lying to me and pretending to do one thing and they're going to do another. You want in the people who are not in your core group, I think you want the people who are the most predictable. And to my mind, Jason is a lot more predictable than Matt. Like Matt is throwing out plans. He's like suggesting they blindside Nate. He's saying I'll work with you, but he's also like trying to betray you. He's also got what was it called? The Section Alliance.
Section, right?
Yeah. And so I would rather. I get Savannah's point that like I want someone who's gonna like bounce ideas and like be open to me. But someone like Matt is like, he's just saying that because that's the position he's in. And like I want someone who's gonna like, if knowing that I can't trust him, I would rather have the person who's more straightforward and is going to be a little more obvious to play against.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when you're saying if I'm Savannah, so Savannah was pushing for Jason to go home. You feel like that from her position specifically that she should have been more of that. I also think Matt needs to go.
That is sort of, that's my perspective. Yes. I mean, you know, obviously Savannah is living her perspective. You know, I think Savannah has a richer understanding of what it is to be Savannah than I do. But for me, like if I'm that person, I'll say like in the control spot, you know, and that was my, like when I was in the control spot playing this game, like I think you get rid of the erratic players and to like keep the players who are doing less.
So I wonder, we saw in the episode, it was a great scene where Savannah said, I'm going to use my reporter skills and I'm going to ask probing questions to Matt. And so she asked him the question about like, but what did you do before you worked at the airport? And he was just like, oh, no, nobody asked me that before. I don't know what I'm going to say. She had a real like gotcha moment with him. Do you think that any part of that, like that exchange where she so like obviously bested him in that, it's like, oh, I gotta, like, I know the combination to beat Matt. Jason, she went to him, offered him an olive branch. She's like, you know, I'm good. I'm going to stick with my people.
Yeah, that's true. And at the time, though, she said, Savannah, I mean, she said, oh, Matt was in finance. He's a sociopath. We can't keep him around. We can't have Matt around. He once worked in finance. That's a tough hurdle.
Yeah, that was a tough pill to swallow. I think that's sort of like going back to the Cody season 43. Don't trust the salesman. Exactly. Was it if you work in finance or if you're the top guy in finance, you're a sociopath?
He was like, he had risen in the ranks.
So you have to be a sociopath
to rise in the ranks.
Ranks. Yeah. In finance or in any business field?
I thought specifically finance.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, we'll see. Again, we have people in the financial industry who listen to this podcast. Let us know if this story checks out.
Yeah. I think they'll be the ones who are most inclined to say, yeah, we're all sociopaths.
maybe. And so I wonder now if this will be like the next thing where we have so much lying about your jobs on Survivor. This will just only reinforce that for future players.
That's the thing. I felt like it was like this like fake gotcha. You know, there was just because there's so little information to go on and there's so little going on that, oh, I've discovered something. So that's my gotcha moment, almost regardless of what it is. He could have been like, I don't know. I'm like, I can't even think of what it is.
If he would have just said, yeah, I was in finance, but he made it. He did make it into the whole thing. Like, oh boy, I wasn't sure if I was going to tell you guys or not, but
what if he'd just been like, yeah, I'm a teacher, and they're like, oh my God, I've got that. He's a teacher. People are going to love him. Like, is there anything that Matt could have said that would not have been a gotcha moment?
What if he's unemployed? I was
then he needs the money. Can't have him at the end.
Yeah. But that's what a great story.
Yeah,
rags to riches to get to the end. So yeah, I think just whatever you say, just make it like it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. If you like act like it's some secret you're hiding, then everybody else kind of feel
author.
No.
All right.
But what did you do before you were a podcast host?
You know what? That is a good question. That's a good question. I was in video production in Los Angeles.
This is the guy who wrote The Scorn. We got to vote him out.
Yeah. All right. Listen, a lot of people want to get payback on me from writing The Scorned. Okay. I hurt a lot of people's careers with that. Stephen. All right. How about for Jason? He does ultimately write down Matt's name for being Hina Strong. I was proud of him.
Oh, really? I thought that, obviously that was like, I think that was the deciding vote, right? Had he not done that, maybe he would have gone home. I really liked the, like, I'm playing my shot in the dark move here. To me, that was like a very strong move because that, I mean, for all the reasons that we praised, oh gosh, what season was it where like everybody was playing their shots in the, I think it was a 44, right? Where there was like 44. A lot of shots in the dark play.
Oh,
yeah.
By the way, yeah. Okay,
and
I'll tell you that perfect timing. Let me talk about who's going to be on the podcast this week. A woman who did
Oh.
play her shot in the dark, Jamie Lynn Ruiz, is going to be joining me for the recap this week. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about what it's like to be a person who swaps to another tribe. And then, friend of Jason, I was so happy that Jason survived the episode so that I can talk to his great friend, Kenny Wang, is going to join me for the old school interview.
I'm really excited to hear from both of those people, but Kenny, whom I used to, see around. I'm really excited to, see the
Not to mention exit
up.
interview with Matt, patron Q&A, and Club Condo all coming your way this week.
But so, I mean, to me, like the idea of playing the shot in the dark here was really smart because
I liked
it like makes you a less juicy target because like you don't want that to blow up in your face. I mean, although they were splitting the votes, but even so, and then B, it just shows like I'm not taking a side. Like to me, that was his whole pitch. Like I'm just going to do this. This is the safe thing for me. I don't have to betray Matt. I'm not going to like vote like in this mix up. I'm just going to like play my shot in the dark and leave me alone. And I thought that was like that kind of like contributed to his pitch. Ultimately, it obviously did help him because
what were the votes? It was 3 to 2 to 4 to 2.
Only there was one vote for Nate from Matt.
So it was 4 to 2.
And then I think there were 2 votes on I think the 2, let's see, Savannah and
Rizzo
and Sophie voted for
Jason.
for Jason, and then everybody else voted for Matt.
Yeah. Okay. Does Jason need to actually play his shot in the dark there, or is the bluff enough? You think he should actually go through and play it?
I kind of, because I mean, I guess
like
voting for Matt in that
votes
scenario
are actually coming for him too.
Yeah, and nobody's gonna blame him if like for voting for Matt though. So I mean, I hear like voting for Matt like does show that he's willing to like go with the group, and that I'm sure that there was more nuance in this decision than like the loyal guy and the schemy guy. I'm sure Jason at some point did say,
the only thing for Jason to actually then bluff and then not play the shot in the dark is that he will need to play the shot in the dark if he goes to the next tribal council. So then once he does play the shot in the dark, then he's kind of like a sitting duck if they go to the next tribal council.
Right. That's a good point. That keeping the shot in the dark here is actually kind of important.
Okay, so I'd love to talk a little bit, and we'll talk about the other tribe as well, but let's talk about Sophie B, who ends up in really playing a great round of the game as she gets out of the old Kella tribe and then ends up here on this new group and ends up really doing great of
completely integrated immediately, like to the point. I mean, usually we have that montage of her going to everybody, and I thought, okay, like that's pretty straightforward. Everyone was welcoming her. But then specifically when Rizzo says, "Oh, I've got the Beware advantage," I'm going to get an idol. Like that to me was like she's really been brought in at this point.
Yeah. I mean, she ends up telling Savannah everything that went on with her and Alex back at the Kella tribe. And so it really does feel like that she's set up well. She's in with Nate as well. She might be ahead of Jawan in the pecking order.
Oh, she definitely is. I mean, Savannah says, like, I really trust her. She reminds me of my friends at home. I was trying to think, like, did I ever play with someone who reminded me of my friends at home? I can't think of like anybody I play with in either of my seasons who, I mean, like Rob, you remind me of my friends from home. You're a young, cute brunette. And that was like, I guess you are probably the person. But in terms of like people on actual Survivor, did anyone you play with remind you of your friends from home?
No,
not
at all.
But in some ways, I feel like that's a weakness of. I mean, that's like the weakness, right? That everyone talks about of contemporary Survivor. It's like they all remind you of your friends from home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So as far as Sophie B goes, so interesting though that before they left, they had like one last horrible night. They get back, and what are the chances that they're sleeping on the beach? The tide comes up, pulls the boat into the ocean, and steals her shoe. The ghost of Jake is still living, thriving. The shoe bandit lives. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, but not so much that it was totally gone. It did come back, just like the shoe bandit. That's amazing.
The shoe bandit continues on.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, and then luckily they found her shoe. Even like everything is turning up Sophie.
Yeah, it really
incredible.
Yeah, that was incredible. That was a great moment. Yeah, great episode for Sophie. I agree. Gets to vote with the majority. Gets everything kind of like goes well for her here.
Yeah. So she's in a really good spot. Do you feel like that now going forward, or like has she really like risen to the ranks of where she is like one of like the end game people? Do you feel like for Survivor 49?
I think so. I thought like both she and Alex were like mid gamers, but I actually do kind of see her as an end gamer at this point in the game. I think that like she's in with this core group. Savannah, who's clearly like the top dog so far of anybody, right? Like who's competitive with Savannah for being in a controlling position right now. I thought like maybe I honestly can't think of anybody like maybe Stephen, like we've seen like some, but like we've seen like the bad vibes and good vibes from him. Like MC is in a good spot, but like Savannah definitely seems to be in like a really dominant position. And she, had a whole confessional about how much she connects with Sophie more than anybody else, just because, friends from home. So I think that Sophie's probably getting to the end. And this group, I think, is probably the end gamers. I really like Nate, by the way. Nate is, I haven't had a chance to talk about that. Because he's not been one of these big characters, but I just love his whole vibe. Like he kind of reminds me of
the
Saul.
vibes are immaculate. Saul, I could see that. And
not like,
yeah. Well, I think that Saul is somebody who is more of like speak softly.
Yeah.
Isn't super loud and like talking all the time, but I think that his voice carries a lot of weight, and is somebody who's like very respected in the group.
Yeah, and I think that's it exactly. They're not exactly the same vibe. Oh my gosh, I've been colonized by the word.
This is
vibe.
cinema.
Yeah, yeah. But they're just like sort of like that's it. It's like thoughtful, soft-spoken adults who were well respected.
I also really am. Jawan is growing on me. He is just so fun. I want to keep watching Jawan react to stuff.
Yes. Yeah. When he walked into tribal council, that was great.
That was great. He has great reactions to things. Like it was great to watch the Matt plan that he sold him, because he had me going for a second that he seemed very excited about it, but then instantly in confessional tells us that no, this is a horrible plan. I don't want this. So I thought that this was a great episode for Jawan, where we had seen him sort of like really maybe circling the drain on the Uli tribe, where now he has I think, where we'll talk about the other tribe and where Sage and Savannah are at. I would say Sage and Shannon are at. But it feels like that Jawan has really like cemented his place now in that Uli core 4.
Very funny scene between him and Jeff.
Which one?
Where Jeff asks him like, what are you making your decision on tonight for who to vote out? And he's like, well, I it's a great question. I haven't really thought. And Jeff's like, maybe, have you thought about that at all today?
Yeah.
Like, seemed like a very straightforward question for me.
I thought Jeff had a really great episode. I thought it was a very great like meta Jeff episode. Like I really liked it, where then Jeff talked about how it was a fake out in terms of the challenge of like, that's what this is, a fake out. We were never going to do a challenge. Yeah. So I like that he called that out. I thought he had a really interesting moment on the mat with Sophie that I was glad that they left in the episode, where Jeff was like, all right,
so great.
We got reward. And like, here it is, like a big plate of fruit. And Sophie's like, fruit? That's if I was on a diet at home, I would eat that. And Christina's like, no, listen to her. Yeah. And Jeff was like, what? This is no good? This is no good?
Yeah. And also, he specifically said, that's not really what I was going for with my question. That was not exactly what I was trying to evoke. What's funny is that, what you don't see on Survivor is like Jeff does. He'll ask like someone like, give me this. And then like they won't. And so he'll go to them, give me that. And so much of when you're out there and you're in the Jeff moments, you're like, I got to give Jeff what he wants. I got to give Jeff what he wants. And then, for them to show kind of him asking that and someone getting it wrong and him kind of being like, that was not really what I was looking for. I thought was like, that's a part of the show you don't really see.
But Stephen, she was so real for that.
Yeah.
The fruit is not a great reward. I'll say it. Like, call me Sam Fallon if you want, but I think that fruit is not that exciting of a reward. Now, in Survivor the Amazon, there was a reward where it was like fruit and maybe like some spices. Like, I had been swapped to the tribe with the women. We lost. We were like, we don't even care. This is like, and that was just like a reward challenge.
You had your Coke refrigerator to go back to.
No, that was on the other tribe. That was
Okay.
I had been separated from it, and I
That's
know
got to
they
be
have
one of the best
nothing.
rewards ever in Survivor history.
I know they have nothing, but it's like it's part of the show that you want to see these people like that. Okay, here it is. Here's like a dozen donuts, and you're watching these slobs like shoving donuts in their face.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to see people like eating grapes. Like I want to see savages like devouring Oreos.
Yeah.
Like,
that might be like
licking,
that might be. I'm sure there's a
fingers,
YouTube channel you can look at for that.
No, I just feel like that we've lost the fun of it. Like, just give them like a bowl of chips or like something.
Right? Yeah. Totally.
Like, they let them have like we don't have to have a healthy dessert.
Yeah.
We can have fun snacks.
Here is a salad.
Yeah, your reward. We've got ice cold salad, lettuce, tomatoes, cucumbers, carrots, light dressing.
Dressing. You're making it a little more appealing there with the dressing. People are just being guzzling the dressing. You're finally getting
Water chestnuts. Worth playing for. And I know it's just you don't even have to give them a reward. It's an immunity challenge, but still, let's just remember
donuts,
have
box
some
of
fun.
donuts. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's talk about this other new Kella tribe. Okay. First of all, I have to say I didn't love that we had two fully formed tribes. It was so narratively, it was so simple.
Yeah.
We're killing the blue tribe.
Yes.
Sophie B buries the blue tribe buff. We had it. It's red versus yellow.
Yep.
No. We need to keep the narrative of the blue tribe has no supplies. So just arbitrarily, we're killing the red tribe, and now it's going to be like Survivor the Amazon, yellow versus blue.
I do think that there is some argument to be made here, right? That like, if you're going to send two groups back to two separate beaches, it's a more exciting narrative. You know, it's like the good beach and the middle beach. No, it's like the good beach and the crappy beach. This group is in the good beach. This one is on the crappy beach. Like there's something there. That's what I agree with you. I'm just like making the opposite case. Like, but I do think that they're like, you can see how they justified it to themselves, right? Like, which tribe do we get rid of? Do we keep these two tribes that are doing like the big in the middle bowl, or do we get the big bowl and the tiny bowl?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, and I almost get it more in the three tribes, where like last season there was the Vula tribe, and then there was a tribe swap, and then they kept them in three tribes. Somebody had to go to the Vula beach, and somebody was inheriting that beach. But we had the story of we're killing the blue tribe. The blue tribe is dead. Like, just let it die.
You know what never resonates for me is when then the blue tribe wins a challenge. They're like, the blue tribe wins its first ever
The
challenge.
blue buffs have won.
Two
It's like
totally
only
different
Alex
group.
is the only common denominator.
Not the same people at all, you know, and it never like hits for me. I don't really care like what color it is.
It's like, what did Sophie B do other than draw a different color buff out? Why does she get to go have fire now and go use a machete?
Yeah. And it's always like, you know, going back to Fiji, I think, you know, it's not that exciting to see the tribe that has like less just lose because they had less. You know, you kind of want people to lose because they were worse, you know, not because they got deprived artificially.
All right. Well, okay. That being said, let's talk about this new tribe where we end up with 4 people from the old Hina tribe. What we have: Stephen, Christina, MC, and Sophie S. And then we also have, of course, Alex. And then we have Shannon and Sage. And we got to see, so Shannon went to work here, and she really got into her bag of working on her spirituality and working on getting everybody on board with this very spiritual side of her personality.
Yeah. And Sage doesn't like it.
Sage doesn't like it. And you know what? Can I tell you who else doesn't like it?
Yeah.
Me. You know what? This is one of my least favorite things. And in some ways, I feel like that, okay, it's Survivor. There are no rules. Get it, girl. But it's one of my least favorite things. It's something that gives me the ick when people use spirituality to try to and listen, there's plenty of people I'm sure that are saying like, hey, it's all fair in Love and War on Survivor. But I just feel like that then people never like come clean and own that is their intention. Like if we saw Shannon saying like, listen, I'm playing up the spiritual angle now to get everybody eating out of the palm of my hand. And I'm going to, I'm going to start talking about God to Christina because I can tell that that's going to work with her, but she'll never own it. She'll never come out and say that that's what she is doing. I didn't like it in South Pacific when that was something that was going on, specifically where Coach was really using that to keep his tribe under all going in the same direction. So it's just one of my least favorite things to watch because I don't feel like it's ever owned in terms of like, that's what somebody is doing.
I agree with you, but I want to give the counter argument. And I do think it's different here than what happened in South Pacific. In that season, you literally had Coach saying like the godful thing for Brandon Hance to do is to give up immunity. In that way, it was like like really directly manipulative. I do think I was Team Sage of this duo, but I do think there's a world, right, where Shannon is a spiritual person. She restrained that part of herself in a group that was less receptive to it. And then she finds a group of people who's more receptive. And it's, you bond over the things that you have in common, and if some of that is being spiritual or like, that if that's a big part of your life, why not connect over that? If someone's there who's like a big, Dickens fan, I'm probably talking to them about that, and like, oh, sure, it's just Dickens alive. I don't know. Once again,
maybe this was just my read on it, and maybe other viewers didn't have the same conclusions that I had, but it felt to me like a little manipulative and like beyond the game in the way that Shannon really tried to when Christina is opening up to her about her mother, and that was really just and how she's had this loss, and for Shannon to come in and it felt like exploitive.
Yeah, I do see that. And I think that's there, right, to some degree. But I want to like, because you're making that case, I do want to kind of like, if someone was telling me about the loss of their mother, I would probably respond with like my most, spiritually minded self too. I'm not being like, well, I'm an atheist. So, I'd probably give them sort of back more of that part of myself.
Yeah. And again, it's Survivor, and look, you got to do what you have to do to stay, but also like I would love to see like somebody own that also.
Right. Yes.
Because I would respect it more.
Right. Yeah. I just don't think it's that neat. I don't think it's like I'm this way because of this. I'm sure that like that aspect of it, the pressures of that bring out that part of her. But I doubt, like in her head, is she thinking like, I'm going to play up this spiritual thing and pull the wool over their eyes? I'm sure she's just like naturally through a combination of like the social pressures of the game and maybe feeling more at home in that. Like she probably that part of her like emerges maybe more.
So it is an interesting story about Sage and Shannon, who were people that were on the tribe together, where Sage looked at Shannon a little bit like a soul sister. And we saw last week where Sage opened up to Shannon about how she was feeling kind of vulnerable in where she was at. And then Shannon went back to Savannah and ratted her out, just like so many of her best friends had done to her previously.
Yeah. Poor Sage. Poor Sage and her jar of blackheads. Rob, where do you keep your jar of blackheads?
Yeah. Did you know that before tonight?
Oh, no. Was that like in the press?
Yeah, that was in her.
Oh, so you've all been wrestling with the jar of blackheads. This is new for me.
Yeah. So, okay. Lay it on me. Give me your reactions to that.
I'm pretty repulsed by that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That gave me the ick.
Gives you the ick. Yeah, it's pretty gross.
Yeah.
I can't even like visualize like what that would be. And I don't need to see a picture of it. So Sage, you could just leave that at home. But I can't even imagine what that would look like.
Sage is unapologetically herself. And I think that's like really beautiful and lovely. That said, we got a confessional from her last week about how, nobody, once they get to know her more, like, she loses friends. And like, maybe part of the problem is you're showing them your jar of blackheads, like to some
She's an
degree,
oversharer. Yeah.
like if there are weird parts of yourself that are repellent to other people, that's fine. You can put that out there. But if you want to be like socially beloved, you need to keep that to yourself.
Yes. There used to be shame.
Like you can be like a weirdo who has all these quirky fixations and screw what everybody else thinks, or I care about what everybody else thinks and I'm going to keep those quirky fixations to myself. I don't think you can have it both ways.
Right. So it's like, let your freak flag fly, but then also like you also have to own the baggage that comes along with that.
Right. Like if I went to her house and she was like, "Oh, check out my blackhead jar," I would probably not want to go to her house again.
Yeah. Like my Uber is coming. What is it so weird?
Yeah.
But
I love that for her. I embrace that part of her, but I personally don't want to see the jar of blackheads.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's talk about, so Stephen notes these two kind of sides of them. On the one hand, he says Shannon seems really centered. She's obviously the more, social player. On the other hand, and he likes that. He wants to work with someone who has that capacity. On the other hand, he likes that Sage is an oddball. He himself is a bit of an oddball. And that's kind of his initial impressions. But over the course of time, he then comes to say basically what you're saying. Shannon is a shark in a spiritual guru's body. Where are you, Rob? Like if Blue goes to tribal council and you're Stephen, who are you keeping here?
Yeah, I think that was a good read by Stephen, where he notices that Shannon is able to like be putting people under her spell, where that she is like talking about like, in very vague terms about God and spirituality, that she's sort of like, it's like an amoeba that she can make it fit around like whatever your belief system is. It's like, okay, she's got something for you. And I think that is something that is very hard to, because you know how it is on Survivor, where I think that the people are looking for meaning. It's sort of like you are in this battle of wills versus these other people in the environment. And I think that people are probably more spiritually open to things on Survivor than they might be in their mundane everyday lives. And so Shannon could potentially have a lot of power in terms of being able to put people under her spell.
Yeah, I think this is a no-brainer. Obviously, you vote out Shannon here. Sage seems delightful too. I have to say, like, just like all of her like quirkiness, the fact that she's like out there. I mean, like, whether or not I want to see the jar of blackheads, I think she'd be very fun to like play with on the island. I think
sure, because you're bored. She's gonna have good stories.
Yeah. And like you also, vis-a-vis what I was saying about Jason and Matt. She's saying, I can't control my reactions. I can't control what my face is doing. Like, I want that person, I want the person who is more easy to read, who's not trying to manipulate, and certainly who's not trying to like use spirituality to manipulate. So, but then, Christina goes to Shannon, so that's Stephen's perspective. This Stephen and that Stephen. But then Christina goes to Shannon and says she wants to work with her and Alex. What did you think of that?
Yeah. So Alex, he looks like that he is in a fine position, but it didn't seem like that he got pulled in as much as Sophie B. And Sophie B did such a great job. Alex, I think, just did a fine job. Like, there was probably no scenario, unless he was like a total monster, that these people were going to get together and want to target him. But it didn't really feel like that he got pulled into Hina the way that Sophie B got pulled into Uli.
Yeah. Or we just didn't see as much of it because it wasn't as relevant for the episode because they didn't go to tribal council. But yes, overall, it did seem like Alex was less that person. And then, I don't know, this idea that like there's a sub faction that, happening here with Christina. Do you think that was a real proposition as an alliance, or was that smoke?
I don't know. It seemed like that we're really building up the Christina and Shannon story. I know that they wanted to, tell us Christina's story about her mom, and maybe that was the way in to be able to get to that, because that was mentioned after they won the challenge, that it was that they dedicated the challenge to Christina's mom. And so when they won, then then Shannon was very quick to mention that again. So I think that's it may have just been something that they wanted to get out there. But the problem is with Hina, going back to the old Hina, we never got a clear picture of what was going on in Hina in the first place. We saw a little bit of, I can't even remember the exact three that was trying to bring in MC. I think it was
Stephen,
Matt. Well, no, maybe it was no Jason. It was Matt, Christina, and Stephen tried to bring in MC. And then she went back and told Sophie. So we don't even know where Jason was, the guy who was the most gung-ho about, hey, I love Hina so much that we don't even know if he was he might have been at the bottom of Hina.
Yeah.
Which makes it even more puzzling that he was like, oh, I can't. I'm waiting for my people.
I do wonder if you're an alternate, if you just always feel like you're on your back foot. And obviously, like MC MC was in the exact same position and is not feeling that way. But I feel like when you're out there in your cast, you're like, oh, I've got these plans and these schemes, and here's what I'm going to do. And when you're an alternate, you're like, just like, please let it happen, please let it happen, please let it happen. And then if it does, you're like, oh, it's happening. Oh my gosh, what's happening now? I mean, I wonder if there's always a little bit of like catching up to do when you're an alternate, just in terms of that. Again, but like MC is obviously, handling the game great. So that's
Stephen, are you surprised that neither of the sides talked about throwing this challenge?
It's crazy to me. Because it's in both of the sides' best
Why
interest
not?
to do it. I was thinking like if it was like in my fantasy Survivor, both tribes are like competing to throw it more effectively.
Yeah. So I can understand why maybe like Alex or Sophie might not want to be throwing the challenge, but it's really like I'm trying to think of like you'd want to throw the challenge. I was trying to think like, okay, Matt was like the person who was really fumbling in the challenge, but it's in his best interest. He wants to win the challenge because he's on the side that shouldn't want to lose the challenge. So yeah, for either of these sides, if it's this battle between Uli versus Hina, you have these, to go back to Australian Survivor and King George, like, you have these hostages who are here in your tribe from the other side, that you have these people that they can't do anything.
Yeah. It makes all the sense in the world to try to get rid of them. I mean, I guess like you also there's some part of you that you're in a challenge, you're playing to win. Like that's sort of why you're there, right? Like that's not me, but that's what some people think. And then there's also just that sense of, I never want to choose to go to tribal council because it could go wrong for me, right? I could be the end, like this could be the disastrous thing for me that like ends up ending my game, and I just don't see it now. So I think there's always that element, or like someone's got an idol and it's going to blow up in my face, and like I could go home because of like some dumb throw. Again, not my perspective on the game, but because I think the risks of that are lower than the risks of you getting on the wrong side of the numbers overall. Although now like the numbers, aren't so in flux by the end that like there's a lot to be said for just being safe week to week in this kind of Calvin Ball Survivor.
But especially if you're in the majority and you're feeling good about like the group that you're with, and it seems like that both sides, it's not necessarily like where it's two people from one side of the alliance and then two people that were on the bottom, where the four is sort of at loggerheads. It seemed like that it was a pretty cohesive majority four on both sides, that I can't imagine nobody was thinking about this.
Yeah. I'm sure they talked about it and then, came to some conclusion about it, because I feel like everybody talks about everything, and just the stuff that we didn't see, just didn't they care about. I will be curious when your interview with Matt to hear like what they, I guess like nobody's like, they're not talking to him about it. Yeah. They're not mentioning it to him. But yeah, if there was, maybe he overheard something. Maybe. Or maybe he's so deeply internalized them talking about throwing the challenge that he decided to do it for them.
Yeah. Or maybe that he's going to say that they did throw the challenge.
Yeah.
That's why, he was the only one. He had to carry on the balance beam because nobody else was going to do it.
Who are you rooting for?
Who am I rooting for?
In the challenge, who are you rooting for? Like, who did you want?
I guess I was rooting for the tribe that ultimately, I thought there was more stuff going on in the tribe that went to tribal council. So I guess I was rooting for Hina.
To win. Or
to win the challenge. I didn't have a strong rooting interest. It might have been 51-49.
Yeah. That's sort of all right. I kind of wanted Kelly to go. I like both Jason and Matt a lot as characters. And I was bummed to lose either of them.
All right.
Sophie, by the way, let's talk about other Sophie, and who maybe has her second first or second confessional of the season, and it's about not wanting to have to eat worms and how miserable that would be and what a miserable beach she's on. Not a great episode. Like, for most visibility for Sophie S, not the best visibility for Sophie. Yes.
Yeah.
To be like
she did have a moment. She had a moment with calling out that fruit is trash.
Yeah, well, that was it. It was about the bad fruit was bad, and that she doesn't want to eat worms, and she's like, it's all very like luxury goods. What?
Fruit's great. Fruit is delicious in real life.
Yeah. Oh, so you're with her. You're team Sophie. Yes.
I think that they could have but listen, I'm from an old time. I was with women that took off their clothes because they wanted candy. Okay.
Yeah.
You think Jenna and Heidi were gonna get naked for a kiwi? I don't think so. Give us some candy because we're crazy. Okay.
Let's talk about the other big moment in the episode, Rob.
Yes. What was the other big moment in the episode?
RIZGOD, the man, the myth, the legend, finds his idol. But what was interesting about this, underwater chest, very cool. But what was more interesting about it was the way everybody really worked together, you know? And like
I was worried they were going to find it without him and not give it to him.
I was wondering about like what are the rules? Like what are the rules here? Is everybody allowed to go on the scavenger hunt together?
Yeah. I really thought because you had Savannah and Jawan and Nate and they were all like, all right, let's just dig. He's not around. He'll be happy. Let's just dig it up. And then it's like, well, we have the clue. Like, should we just go get the idol?
At some point,
like what? Yeah, what is the rule on that? Because we saw where going back to when Alex was looking for his thing, and then Sophie B was like, "Hey, I'm gonna get the key, and I'm gonna go get the idol for myself." It seemed like she would have been able to do that.
Yeah, that's right. You got two very different scenarios there with other people trying to get the thing.
I think they could have done it. I think they could have gone and gotten his idol.
I don't
Does
think
he get
so,
his vote back?
He's got the parchment thing. He's like, this is you got to do this. It says you know. It's like,
but Stephen, it's always been, and this is something that you and I have debated for many years about the, having the idol, nobody can take it from you. But if you just have the clue, you like somebody else could go and read your clue and go and take the idol.
Well, that's what's so weird about these mechanics that are not based on it's same thing with like, you know, the knowledge is power, where you're like not allowed to lie about it. That's always like a little bit weird when it's like nobody else can do this. But I do wonder. I would like to get clarification on that rule because I think it's really interesting in terms of like, you're right. Like these two groups played it very differently, but someone was doing it based on a false premise, right? Like either Sophie was just wrong that she would not have access to that idol, or the Red Tribe was wrong that they I guess maybe they still.
I don't think they were wrong. I think they were nice.
Right, they were nice. Like, could they have stolen it? Right,
they were naive.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's talk about a big question that's going to be on everybody's minds. Who is going to win this week's Fishy Award?
So I have two.
Here we go. Hold on. It is time.
That was the best one yet. I feel like the volume was good. It's really like cut down to its most essential self. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So two candidates here, I think. The first is once again Sophie B. Just like comes from nothing and then integrates herself into the best alliance in the game to the point where she is being told the clue about the beware advantage fully, and then votes with the majority, and now seems to have gone from being really at the bottom of the game to totally at the top. The other one is Nate, because I do think that Nate probably is the person who benefited the most from this vote. Obviously there was some dissension. Both Savannah and RIZGOD, the man, the myth, the legend,
you don't have to keep saying that.
Well, he does, so why can't I? No, okay. And Rizgod wanted to vote out Jason. Nate was pushing for Matt. Both because Matt was throwing out his name, so it makes a lot of sense for Nate. And as I previously said, I think that was the right choice. Where are you, Rob? Talk me through those two options.
So I think that those are the two candidates that we should be talking through. And I thought that Nate did gain the most in Matt going home over Jason. But if you were going to go from like week over week of whose odds to win the game rose most dramatically in this episode, to me, I think it's Sophie. Sophie was really in dire straits coming into this episode, part of just a 2-person tribe. And now here she is. And I think that you'd probably consider her to be one of the top winner candidates. So she really improved her position the most, even if she did not have like so much to gain. Matt versus Jason, who cares? She actually voted for Jason. But for her to have come this far and to get so ingrained in the new Uli tribe that it feels like to me, I mean, she's actually part of the new Hina tribe. It seems to me like she is the big winner of the episode.
Yeah. But did she make a move? You know, I mean, I guess the whole like her like, you know, pitch campaign to all of these people. I'm so loyal. You know, I would be a great ally. You know, obviously she resonates.
I am that girl.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, there is the element too of luck here, right? Where so much of Sophie getting to be on that tribe and instead of Alex is just which package she opened. You know, Savannah likes Sophie because she reminds her of her friends from home. Like, is that a move? Being like reminding someone? And maybe it is. I mean, Ethan Zahn always said
good social game.
Well, truly, like, yeah, like I always try to be the person to everybody on the tribe that they need. If someone like, you know, misses their brother at home, I try to be the brother. If someone's missing their son, I try to be the son. So, I mean, I do think like being the friend is a really viable thing. And I do think probably Sophie plays that beautifully. That said, Sophie's gotten 2 fishies already. And because I do think that this is a good move for Nate, you know, Nate's in a great spot. Like you can't, I know it's a broken system that faults losers for losing, but some like Nate, you know, has created this position of influence on his group where 2 people in this 4-person group want to get out Matt from what we've seen. And then, you know, Nate ultimately gets his way. He eliminates the person who I think is the right person to eliminate, and the person who's trying to target him. So I am going to give it to Nate.
Yeah. Why did you say it's a broken system that rewards losers for losing? This was fine. That was you know, I didn't think this was like an indictment of the Fishy Award this week.
I just try to work that in as much as possible.
It is a good line. You know, Mitch did eat with that one.
Yeah,
for sure. Okay. Stephen, were you spooked at all when we saw another snake in this episode, which seemingly was like in the hammock right behind Matt?
I mean, once, you know, this could be the revenge of the snakes.
Yeah. Do you think that was the curse, or that the snake like claimed another victim, or that we saw the snake and then went right to Matt and then he was going to go home in this episode?
Oh, I didn't make that connection. I didn't make that. I mean, I'm sure that was deliberate, you know, I'm sure that was like a thematic thing. They're so good. Like the editors on this, like they're so thoughtful. Any little thing you notice, like they have like thought through and done deliberately.
Okay. All right. Anything else about this episode?
I think we really, I mean, honestly, like the fact that we got, you know, we probably have as much content here as the episode itself. Like,
how long do you think we will stay in 2 tribes before we go to the merge? Do you think it'll be just one more episode? Because I think that typically episode 6 is the, don't call it the merge, but it's when we have mergatory.
Yeah, I think that's right.
So one more episode.
One more episode is 2, and then then they're going to the merge.
And so that'll get us down to then just 12 people going into the merge.
Yeah, is that a small jury? Is 11? What is it? What has it been recently? I guess that is it been typically 12?
So, well, no, what they've done is that they've done the split tribal council, and then one person isn't going to make the jury. So it seems like that because of the medical evacuation, it seems like that we're not going to mess around with that, which I think everybody will be appreciative of.
Yeah.
Nobody likes that.
No.
Yeah. Okay. All right, Stephen, let's talk about what else is coming up. And then, of course, we have our friends over on Chat BCC, where we are talking about the episode. We're hobnobbing with the glitterati over there. All the survivors that you want to care about are there over on Chat BCC. Come and chat with us for free during the episode and all week long. Go to robinswebsite.com/VIP chat. But
Have you heard of the
Really
dead
wanna be
internet theory? I was just reading about the dead internet theory. Have you heard about
Yeah,
this?
yeah, I've heard about
That,
this.
like, everything is bots, and therefore, like, when you're interacting on almost any social platform, it's like all bots.
So I don't think
But
it's not all bots,
well, it's
but
like
there
there's a
is
lot,
like
right?
there's a lot of bots. Yeah.
Not all bots, but like enough that you can't totally distinguish between what is bot, what is human. Chappy and the future, is kind of going back to these closed networks where that there are actual real people, and I do feel like Chat BCC is kind of a step in that direction of like this is real people. This is real people who you're chatting with and connecting with. No
Where
bots.
everybody knows your name. Chat
Yeah.
BCC.
Who of the Survivor accounts on Chat BCC is most likely to actually be a bot? That's a tough one.
Let's see. Maybe Christian would be the person smart enough to have a
Create a
bot.
bot for himself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he can be, doing, whatever else and then have his bot posting away.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, Christian, we're on to you.
All right. But we're also on to a wicked romp of a page turner known as Escape.
Right. So this is another, I'm trying to do these like weekly, these like incredible blurbs I've gotten from authors. This week's is from Janelle Brown. It is razor sharp and darkly unsettling. A wicked romp of a page turner and a poignant insider critique of fame, ambition, and the human craving for connection. This is Janelle Brown. And this was a really important blurb for me to get because Janelle Brown is this author of both literary fiction and thrillers. She was the New York Times bestselling author of Pretty Things and Watch Me Disappear and many more. And just like one of my big concerns with writing this book was I wanted it to be like propulsive and enjoyable and really plotty. Like I felt like I could get like the character stuff and like the thematic stuff. And like, obviously I know a lot about reality television, but I wanted it to be like enjoyable to read. And when I pitched it to publishers, I said, this is like it's like a literary thriller with genre bones. And I really don't think before I worked with my editor that it had that propulsion, that it had those genre bones. And I worked really, really, really hard to give it that. So to get this from Janelle Brown, who's like the expert in this, like one of the foremost writers in this world, was so validating that I like all that work I had done was working. The work was working. Anyway.
Yeah. All right. Well, an incredible recommendation from Janelle Brown. Also, come on out and see us in San Francisco. I can't believe it's only going to be, I've only been home for 2 days. Like, I'm going to be back on the road again, November 5th.
Wow.
Come out and see us.
More glitterati, more hobnobbing.
Wait till you see the glitterati coming out to San Francisco.
I bet it's going to be very
It's going to be, they're calling it the next San Francisco Gold Rush. All of the glitterati that is going to be out there for the live show. Yeah. Okay. Then on Friday, I'll be taking patron questions live coming up at 3 p.m. Eastern on Friday for episode 4 with the patrons. Then also on Patreon, Club Condo, we'll be talking about anything that's happening in the Survivor multiverse. We'll be talking about it on Club Condo. And then check out all of the rest of our Survivor podcasts coming your way. The B&B, Survivor Global, Why X Lost, the Purple Pants podcast, Survivor News. That's all at WeKnowSurvivor.com. Then coming up on Thursday night, I'll be talking about The Amazing Race, episode 4, which is airing tonight. I'll be talking about that with Mike and Jess on the All Big Brother edition of The Amazing Race. And on Wednesday, we released our Keanu Soto deep dive.
And who is that?
He is a Big Brother contestant, and he is America's favorite player.
Wow, good for him. That's amazing.
Good for Keanu. All right, there you go.
Well, one last thing. On October 23rd, that's next Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern, I will be on Talk Shop Live, taking live questions. Obviously, I'll be talking about my book. Also, would love to do chat about Survivor, of course. So please join me there. The link is in the show notes.
Live?
It's a way. Oh, and they'll be selling some autographed copies of the books. Basically, it's this. It's like, I guess I don't know if it's just for authors, but it's like an interactive platform where people
talking shop
live. They talk shop, right? And then there will be autographed copies of my book for sale. But we don't. It would be fun to take some questions. I don't really get a lot. You have so many platforms for questions. I would love to do like Survivor questions, obviously book questions, any other questions. So there's a link in the show notes to be reminded, but I'll also be talking about it next week in case you forget. So October 23rd, 7 p.m. Eastern. Please join me at Talk Shop Live.
Are you taking questions face to face, or are you taking them over text?
I'm assuming it's over text, that it's not a video chat, that like the questions will. I actually don't know. I will be learning the platform before doing this.
So you don't know, is there a moderator there interviewing you, or is it you're going to be solo?
Rob, I like to lead with my ignorance. I come in completely ignorant and hope things work out. So it's been doing pretty well for me. It's we're real.
Okay, cool. Anything else fun coming up for you?
I mean, just next week of the Know-It-Alls, another week talking to my friend Rob.
Yeah. All right. Anything else of fun going on in your personal life, in real life? Not podcast, not book?
Survivors Play Blind the Clock Tower. You know what's actually really been fun is I started a Discord server basically to give more Survivors Play Blood on the Clock Tower videos. If you email me at escapefishback@gmail.com with proof of purchase, I will add you. It's awesome. Like, I thought this was just going to be like a way to promote the videos, but it's really taken on a life of its own. There's just like Clock Tower games all the time. There's brand new players. I mean, I like play with them a lot, or I say that like a handful of times. It's like a great community that's emerged. They have like movie nights. There's like book discussions. Like, someone was like, I didn't know there were this many people like me who liked Survivor, reading, and social strategy games. Like, that's the whole the whole Discord. It's great.
The big three.
It's like, truly, it's like my person. Like there are so many people like me. Like it's just wonderful. It's been really cool to be a part of.
Yeah. All right. Well, check that out. Check out everything else going on. We will be back together next Wednesday night for perhaps the final episode of the Survivor 49 pre-merge. And of course, I'll be talking with Matt coming up on our exit interview on Thursday. Thank you for joining us. Take care, everybody. Have a good one. Bye. This is RHAP. We know reality TV.